What's up, guys? It's Mr. Jammin, and today we are back. And this is, you can call it a series, whatever, but this is gonna be a quick question and answer. And I don't mean like like an entire 3 hour video. Obviously, as you can see, this is gonna be where you guys post whatever your struggle is right now that you want me to answer for you. And if I can answer it, I'll make a quick video explaining that. And so generally, if one person has a question and a multitude of people have the same question, maybe they didn't see the post, maybe they're not active enough with the channel, maybe they don't trust me enough, whatever the case may be, they didn't ask. So gonna do this. And so today's question comes from Scrooge McDip, and he says, so I don't know if this goes too far into the specifics of psychology, but there is a difference between cognitively understanding what it takes to improve your mindset and actually changing what you feel while playing. I'd love to hear about the steps that are in between just understanding the concepts of not attaching oneself to one result. For example, actually practicing it. This is my biggest issue playing Mons, honestly. And so, excellent question. This is very common. And so to provide some quick context for those who don't understand what he's saying, he's basically asking, is there the difference between like getting it like cognitively, getting it like if you were read it on a page? Okay, I think I understand what he means, and actually putting it in practice and actually embodying it, actually having it be something that you act out and believe. And the truth is, yes, there is a difference. And to bring, I guess, further clarity, what does he mean by attaching oneself to one's result? So if you're a player that is currently emotionally having a difficult time, no matter what game you're playing, I'm going to start diving deeply into just competitive psychology gaming-wise, period. And share the nuggets that I've found in my few years of studying, let's just say, this topic. And so it'll help a lot of you guys. But yeah, going back to that, if you play any competitive game or you do anything, right, humans have the tendency to really attach themselves to whatever results they get whenever they're doing something they care about. This is a concept that I call being the avatar, right? So let's say that your name is Billy, right? And you have several different hobbies that you do. So let's say one of your hobbies is tennis. You enjoy tennis, but it's not the biggest thing in the world to you. Let's say you have another hobby, which is karate. You care a lot about karate. It's not, it's more than tennis, but it's not like the biggest thing in the world for you. And let's say you have another hobby that is soccer, and you really, well, let's use individual stuff. Let's say it's competitive Pokemon, and you really want to be the best competitive Pokemon player, or you want to top the ladder, whatever goal you have, right? Now, let's say in a tennis game, you kind of care, but it's not the biggest deal in the world to you. You lose. When you lose, you lose again, and you lose again, you're like, I guess, tennis isn't my thing, but you don't feel that much of an emotional reaction. Like, you're like, but you don't feel super bad. You're like, okay, I can accept that I'm not that good at tennis. Now let's take karate. Care more about karate. And so the more you care, the more your emotional reaction increases. So when you lose in karate, let's just say, or you're not doing well, you're not mastering the moves well, you're not moving up in belts, you feel a little bit worse than you do when you fail in tennis. And so it's like, I don't know, man, but you still can somewhat deal with it, right? You're like, I can accept it, but it doesn't feel good. Now, let's say you take Pokemon that you really want to be good at, you really enjoy the game, you've been playing it since childhood, and you care deeply about like being good at it. And mind you, no skill set is better than the other, in the sense of like, it's not like less important to value Mons than to value tennis, right? You decide what you value. You decide what means the most to you. So don't never let anybody try to tell you that it shouldn't matter or it's just a game. That's rubbish. And I'm releasing something soon that really goes deep into that. So once you've picked your passion, and in this case your Mons, you want to be the best. When you lose in that, right, you feel really bad. When you lose repeatedly, you feel really, really bad. And when you win a lot, you feel really, really good. And so then the conclusion one may draw is that winning is good and losing is bad, because I feel bad when I lose and I feel good when I win. Okay. Now it brings back to Scrooge's questions. A concept that I teach everybody is the fact that you are the avatar and losing is good. And so losing is good oftentimes rubs people the wrong way, because they're like, are you telling me that I'm supposed to just enjoy losing and just lose all the time? If I lose all the time, then how am I going to get to my goal? Right? And so the misconception is that losing takes you away from your outcome. So let's say you want to be the best player. The false assumption that people make is that losing games is moving them away from their goal. And that's only true if you don't look for the lessons in the losses. Technically, losing brings you closer to your goal, because then you can correct the errors, right? So if you play 10 games and you lose 9, if you review the 9, you play the next game, you lose 10. You play 10 and you lose 9 again. You review them, soon you'll start losing only 8. Then you lose only 7. Then you lose only 6. Then you lose only 4. Or 5, you'll only lose 4, then you'll lose only 3, then you lose only 2. And that's because you're losing so much and you're dragging the nuggets from it, so you're not making the same mistakes over and over again. But the reason why people make the same mistakes over and over again is because they don't review the losses. Now, that begs the question, okay, well, if they're not reviewing their losses, why would they do that if they logically, which is what he's talking about, intellectually, I understand that losing is good. I understand intellectually that wherever I am on the ladder or wherever I am, whatever result doesn't define me, right? Me losing doesn't make me a loser. Me winning actually doesn't make you a winner in a technical sense, but you can define your thing, but the best mindset to have is that of a learner. And so, kind of going back to losing is good, right? And so if you logically understand this, why is it that you can't put it in practice? You're like, I get it. It makes sense. The more I lose, the more I review my games, the more I get better. But then comes the moment when you lose, you feel horrible, and then you don't want to review your game. So that asks the question then, why don't people want to review their games? And that's because you have a habit, and this is the answer to his question. You have a habit. What is a habit? A habit is our thoughts and actions. Well, a belief is a thought you repeat over and over again. A habit is an action that you repeat over and over again. So you have a habit of whenever you lose, you identify it as bad. Okay, if I lose it, it's bad. If I lose it, it's bad. If I lose it, it's bad. Right? And no human wants to continue to do things that are bad for him. Now, the thing is, not because you logically understand it means your body understands it. And what I mean by your body is, let's say you have a thought and you logically understand. Let's say you've been eating, a box of pizza a day for an entire year or something. And so you've learned now that, if you continue to eat pizza at the rate you do, in 10 years, you're going to probably have a heart attack, right? You logically understand this, and you logically understand that you're hurting yourself every time you eat pizza. Yet you're like, I keep eating pizza. And then you end up beating yourself up and you're like, man, why can't I get this right? Why can't I get this right? And so if you logically understand it on the surface, for somebody who isn't trained in, understanding human behavior, then you'd think, well, they just don't want the best for themselves. But that's not true, actually. Your body has a habit. Like, your body is used to doing things in a certain way. And so because of that, and your brain as well, your brain is a part of your body. I don't think people remember that sometimes. But your body craves pizza. That's a habit. And so for you to change that habit will be painful and uncomfortable. And so what he's describing is, what he's really saying is, I logically understand it, but whenever I do it, I still feel the pain. Why do I feel the pain? And you feel the pain because your body's saying, stay how you are. We've been doing this. We've been perceiving losing as bad for so long, right? Or your brain, you can, if you want to separate them, your brain is saying, we've been perceiving losing as bad for so long. That's how we are. And that's how we're going to stay. It has kept you alive up to this point. Why the hell are you trying to change? And so after that comes that discomfort feeling that you're experiencing, right? Like, you lose and you feel the pain. You're like, no, I shouldn't feel the pain because, losing is good. Losing is good. The key is to not resist it. It's to expect it. If you feel the pain, good. That's how you know you're doing something differently. And if you're doing something differently, you'll become different. So the more discomfort you tolerate, then the more change that's going to happen. By definition, comfort is remaining the same. So if up to the point you learned to not identify with your point, losing is good and all that, up to that point you weren't aware of this information, which means your comfort zone is losing is bad. Your comfort zone is disidentifying with your points. Identifying with your points and your results. So for you to change, it will be uncomfortable, painful. You're going to have to look at losses you don't want to look at. These are things that I have to do myself constantly. Because much like a workout, right? You don't go to the gym and then you work out and then you're like, okay, now the muscles are going to stay forever, right? We're in a constant process of maintaining it. Now, what's dope about the human brain is you can create new habits. Your current habits don't take a lot of willpower to play out. So it doesn't take you a lot of effort to think losing is bad and feel bad and quit. It doesn't take a lot of effort for you to identify with your results and let them define you rather than focusing on learning. That's something you've been doing all your life. So it's easy. And because it's easy, you think that's who you are. Oh, that's how I've always done it. Therefore, that's who I am. I'm not going to go into all the factors that create, quote unquote, who you are. But the fact that you can entertain a different thought, meaning you can perceive yourself, you can envision yourself as somebody different, then inherently that assumes that you're not that person. That means you could change if you did things differently. So if it's possible for you to change, if I had a gun to your head and I said, you're going to review every single game you lose for an entire month, no matter what, you do it. And you know what would happen at the end of the month? You'd be different. So if you can be different, that means maybe, just maybe, who you think you are right now isn't who you are. Because who you are now, one, won't be who you are in 10 years. And who you are now, one, wasn't who you were 10 years ago. It's just picking your poison. None of them are going to be comfortable. It's uncomfortable to keep losing and sucking and knowing you should do better and don't do it. And it's uncomfortable to change. But when you pick your discomfort, and obviously I'd recommend picking the one that pushes you in the direction you want, then that's something that actually is worth it. It's worth the pain. right? And this obviously applies to anything. And so to somewhat sum up the idea here, because I know I really should structure these out, but I just wanted to start instead of trying to make it perfect. And that's another whole conversation. The reason cognitively understanding and embodying isn't the same is because they're not the same system. Your habits are in your body, your brain and your body, if you want to separate them. So you wake up, if you drink coffee every day, if you stop drinking coffee, you have withdrawal symptoms. What are withdrawal symptoms? Withdrawal symptoms, simply put, are your body's way of saying, you're not doing the thing that we usually do. Do it. Do it. And so you feel pain, whether it be a headache or whatever. Does that mean you must drink coffee again? Not if the consequences of drinking it outweigh the pain that you're dealing with in the short term. And so it's the same thing. Pick your poison. There's no simple, fun little way to change. And then over time, this is going to bleed into other areas, which brings you back to the concept of you are the avatar. You have one nervous system. So no matter if you're a complainer, whether you play Pokemon, you're going to complain, you're the avatar. Whether it's at your job, you're going to complain, you're the avatar. Whether it's at home with your family, you're the avatar. Meaning whatever you identify with, who you are, plays out in everything you do. Games, work, school, everything. Now, the good thing is you can actually use the principles in games to improve other areas of your life. Isn't that great? Isn't that wonderful? And so you can apply the principles you use on the ladder and use those same new ways of thinking, like losing is good. Let's say you're in sales. If you do losing is good as in Mons, then you can just flip it. Rejection is good in sales, because it is, right? You get rejected, you find out what you did wrong, right? You focus on what you did well as well. You try again, and before you know it, you're the best salesman there. But if you assume rejection is bad, and rejection is evidence that I'm not a good salesman, you'll quit. And so you'll quit Mons, you'll quit sales, and you'll live a life where you're just cruising by, just praying and hoping for something to change and get better, and you're just suffering in the quiet. And that can get to very dark places that I'm sure many of you guys know. Been there. And so I just decided I'll pick my poison. And a lot of people who message me and ask questions like these, it's essentially the same message. Do you want to suffer forever by never changing, or do you want to suffer in the short term with the discomfort, and then on the other side be somebody you can respect and you're proud to be? That's it. And so that's why it's hard. So yeah, hit the like button, leave other questions down in the comment section below that you want answered, and I'll try to do this 5 times a week, if not every day, because I love sharing with you guys what I've learned, and it helps me better understand and help you guys. So thank you for watching. Share this with somebody who you think might need it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.